Alright everybody, hello. It's CD Mangaka back with a Master Ninja Mode walkthrough commentary of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Chapter 11, maybe one of my least favorite, if not like second least favorite of the game. It's between this one and Rachel's mission. Whereas I could say a couple things about Rachel, like she had some good throws and things like that. Ayane, it kind of feels like I'm dealing with RNG here. Like on paper, Ayane has a lot of really good things. Like you see here that her Flying Swallow was able to decapitate 2 ninjas up front. You'll notice that her ultimate technique, level 2, does have a guaranteed delim. And, you know, things look pretty good in this fight. Until I get caught by a random claw guy. Now, this video in particular is going to be a lot shorter than the others. I am reporting my commentary in post. I played through these chapters, at least a couple of the next chapters, on my laptop. Didn't have the means to record commentary. Moved it over to my desktop to do the commentary in post. And whereas the video itself has about 15 minutes of footage, I played this level for an hour. And I feel like some of that has to do with the balancing around the ladies, and particularly like Rachel and Ayane, where their kits are so weak that these incredibly short levels feel longer just because you have to reduce so many fights. As you might notice here, like, my Flying Swallows, they're not really cutting off heads. I feel like there's just a lot of things that Ayane, like, on paper has that is strong, but in practice, they're very inconsistent. And when I play this character, I feel like, at least in Master Ninja mode, I'm banking on RNG for my outcomes more than anything else. While our ultimate technique does have some guaranteed delim strikes, they only focus on one limb, the left arm, if I remember correctly, so you can't kill an enemy with just it. Furthermore, it's almost more effective to not hit enemies with it. Like, you see here, I do a full level 2, and this guy is still alive. Like, there's so many weapons with Ryu. In fact, I don't think I can name even one with Ryu. Maybe the Kusarigama, where that's just not the case. And with Ayane, because we only have this one weapon with her, it's what we're stuck with, and you have to make it work. She has a Flying Swallow, but it's inconsistent, kind of like Ryu's, but I feel like it's not as effective. You can press the heavy attack after it again to launch the opponent, and then immediately go into an air string that leads to her Izuna drop. And while she does have an Izuna drop, it's way worse than Ryu's. As you might notice here, when I take the enemy up into the sky, instead of driving their head in the ground, I kind of bury their body into the ground. This means that the enemy is more than likely capable of surviving that attack. However, the weird thing about it is that it does have like this very strong AoE around it, and sometimes in these clips of my gameplay, you will see that when I land these Izuna drops, nearby enemies' heads will explode, creating this weird situation where you almost don't want to use Izuna drop to target an enemy and single them out and kill them like you do with Ryu. Instead, you want to use it for its area of effect to target other enemies, which I think is just way too inconsistent to rely on in a game as fast-paced as Ninja Gaiden. You do see that the werewolves do get picked up by it. I was not able to get any delim action there, but we do take his head off. You have to kind of power your way through these first couple of fights. There is another fight off to the side, but I would recommend, if you're playing this in Master Ninja mode, skip that optional fight for now. Press forward, get to that first save point, because, you know, I was on these first couple of fights for like 15, 20 minutes, and there just wasn't much interesting to say or talk about when it came to the commentary. Pick up the Grains of Light, pick up the mushroom down there. We don't have to worry about essence farming with Ayane, just like with the other girls. We're just here to get through the level, and we even have another fight right here, which I trigger the enemies, run all the way back just to build as much space as I can. Wait for the chanting to end so I know his homing volcanic pillar won't actually hit me. Alright, and you can see, like, I'm hitting some guys, but, like, just the fact that you have these ultimate techniques that even in Master Ninja mode aren't doing anything to these guys is pretty frustrating. And maybe you want to argue, well, okay, then you can't cheese your way out of these fights, but Ayane really doesn't have any strengths to compensate for that weakness. Again, like her other delimming attacks, her Flying Swallow doesn't do it consistently. Her Izuna drop is whack, to say the least. It's almost like I feel like the enemy is safest when they are being grabbed by Ayane. Like, if you are being Izuna dropped by Ayane, that is the safest place for an enemy to be, and that feels weird to say. That doesn't feel like it should be that weak. I'm using a lot of healing items here just because I am tired of playing these missions. I'm like, you know what, guys, like, just do what you have to do. Get through the missions. Like, you will probably be here for roughly an hour on Master Ninja mode, here being the entirety of the level, just because these fights, you almost have to roll the dice and just get the right bit of luck, the right bit of these low-rate delimming attacks. You have to get like just the right outcomes on when you have CC on the enemies. You know, things just have to kind of go your way as Ayane, and it's very hard for me, at least, to plan around this character being successful. And maybe there's just some tech I'm missing. Maybe there's just some combo moves that I'm not using. But looking into some other Ninja Gaiden 2 creators for content, that's the word I was trying to find. It seems to be kind of a consensus that, like, you know, girls aren't really that good. And Ayane, at least her Nimbo is pretty good against these ninjas. It will kill some of them sometimes. It will delimb them sometimes. But again, it's very inconsistent. After this first save statue, I finally go back to do that other fight that does have a chest at it. And again, I'm just, like, trying to just get through this mission at this point, because it is a slog to play these levels as Ayane, just with how underpowered some of her tools are. She doesn't really have anything that can really cheese out enemies, which maybe that's for better in terms of like game balance. Maybe it's for worse. I don't know. But when you have Ryu existing in this state that he is in, with several powerful weapons that have several powerful ultimate techniques, very strong delimbing attacks, even guaranteed delimbing attacks across his kit. And, you know, you have Ayane, who has, you know, like, echoes of tools of his, but they're just so much worse. It just kind of feels bad. I would recommend that when you take on these werewolves, if you can try to farm them up for essence, just to give you some more leeway in terms of the items that you're able to buy at the end of the level to stockpile up on health items, it will make your run through this level a lot easier. I do take a couple of hits right here, and I was like, man, do I really want to let this fight go through? I kind of thought about just letting them kill me here, just to try and ace the fight, not take any damage, to set myself up for the next really big fight, the next big hurdle in this chapter. Because I feel like for Ayane's chapter, the first sequence of fights is going to get you stuck for a little bit before we got to the save statue that you saw. The fight after the save statue in the marketplace will keep you down for a little bit, just because it is a long, arduous fight. And I think that the fight right before the boss of the level is another point where you're going to get stuck for quite a bit. And we do know that there is a balance patch coming out for the game. I'm very interested to see if Team Ninja is going to buff the female characters, make them comparable to Ryu. I personally would love to see a rebalancing of their levels where the ladies themselves are stronger, so that they can consistently kill enemies using these techniques, but in compensation for that, make their fights longer, give them more enemies to fight and kill. But if I can consistently kill more enemies, I think that would lead to a more fun gameplay loop than what we have right here. You're going to see my first take at this fight and how it fails. As you can see, like, I'm not really getting my best delim set up. She does have some pretty great counterattacks. I'm not the best at landing them. And when you're surrounded by enemies who can grab you just like that, it can be a little risky to go for. And so we're going to see my successful load here. I was on this fight for about maybe another 20 minutes as well. Sometimes, even like the item spawns in these barrels are RNG. Sometimes I can break that barrel and it won't give me an essence to use, and other times it will. And again, you saw I did that full ultimate technique, got some splash damage on enemies, but nobody died. Like, it is absolutely sad and frustrating how, like, bad this ultimate technique is. Even Momiji's would kill, like, an opponent in Master Ninja mode. Like, it's just frustrating balance. And even here, like, I'm devaluing that ultimate technique so much, I'm not even using a blue essence to get an immediate level 2. I'd rather, like, absorb the health through it. Gets a little wonky in the corner. I go for a Nimbo here, because I'm just trying to force my way through the fight. If you're playing Chapter Challenge mode, you do want to maintain as much Nimbo as possible to try and increase your karma score, but I feel like it's a fairly minuscule boost. Maybe makes the difference between like a Master Ninja rank and not, but you know, that's just at the end of the level. If you just want to restock up with whatever mushrooms you have on hand, say, okay, I got 2 free uses of Nimbo. Just do what you have to do to beat these fights. And you can see here, like, I am flying, swallowing through several times on these enemies, and sometimes, you know, a full health enemy, he just gets decapitated. Others, they don't. So you fight through, like, these waves of the Katana Ninja and the Mage Ninjas, and that was an accidental absorption of that blue essence. I was pretty upset about that, because as soon as this fight's done, guess what? We got 3 Incendiary Shuriken Ninjas to finish off and kill. And I mean, it's a pretty rough situation. I am able to take advantage of the guaranteed delimbs but because her level 1 is so weak and because her Azuna drop is so bad, granted, you would see Ryu's Azuna drop not, like, decapitate these guys, but, you know, if they're at full HP and the first one doesn't kill, usually the second one would. It is sort of like the thing I've noticed in terms of that game balancing. She does have a pretty good delim rate on her light attacks. I have to give Ayane that much credit, but those just aren't the safest thing to use. I got through that fight finally, and I said, you know what? I don't care. The next fight is not really that big. I know there's another save statue coming up, so whenever you get through this fight, go back and save. Just do that. Just do that for yourself so you do not have to repeat that fight. I don't care how unhealthy your character is. There's not much more left of this level, and you can ace this next fight pretty simply. There's a grain of life right there, so now I'm up to 3. I'm not healing because we've already saved, and we just got to get through some of these gold Bengals. And Ayane is capable of doing that, really. You know, start isolating one of them by running back. Maybe you can charge an ultimate technique off, and, you know, I do die right here because I am at very low HP, but really it's just kill those 3 Bengals, get to the next save statue, and top off your life, right? Like, you don't need that much health to beat this fight. So whenever you clear the marketplace fight, go back to that statue, save, and be on your way. Don't use any healing items here. You have a full health statue just around the way. I do go aggro here, trying to, like, see if my flying swallow will do something for me. And, yeah, it's kind of not a great look. I get a little lucky here, not getting hit by the fireballs off camera, just with Ayane's movement and pushing the Bengal around. Try to disengage. There's me doing the follow-up attack, pretty useless against them. Once I get them in a nice spot, she does have quite a bit of, like, stun locking capabilities. And I take down, I think I said it was 3, but I just said 2. And here I'm so paranoid, I go back and save. You don't have to do this. Just go to the next save statue that has a heal for you. Save there. Top off your HP, you'll be fine. But I'm hoping that these levels of the girls, as well as, like, the girls themselves for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, are something that Team Ninja primarily focus on when it comes to their balance patch updates. Just because I would like to see these girls have a lot more consistency and power to them. This fight here goes pretty poorly for me. So the thing is, these Bengals won't spawn until you use that save statue, which you probably will have to use that save statue to top yourself off. Here, I just pop an herb, open this, it's a Devil's Way mushroom. I'm experimenting with this part of the level right now. I go back and pick up an item. And because of how poorly that fight with the Bengals went, I am down, like, a healing item I could use. You don't get any Crystal Skull discounts in the girls' level, so I'm paying, like, some price for them. I don't think it's full. And here I think about saving at the statue, but I'm like, you know what? No, that fight went pretty poorly. I used a free herb, an herb I could use for this big fight instead. So I feel like you should be picky about that particular fight and save point, just because this is the last big chest of the chapter. This big fight right here. You got mages, dual katana ninjas, incendiary ninjas. You just gotta, you know, kill them. And again, you don't really have great consistent tools to really snowball through the fight. There's an example of Ayane's Azuna drop actually beheading someone outside of her Azuna drop, which is cool in theory. In practice, it just means, oh no, no one was around me, and this guy that I spent all this time comboing has, like, nothing to show for it, right? Not even, like, a delimbed body part for me to OT immediately afterwards, guaranteed. So I'm messing around with some combos and setups here. For level 1, as you can tell, doesn't have a guaranteed delim attack on it. It can potentially delim, but you have to, you know, just be lucky with it. And that's one thing I feel like is very frustrating for this character. Anyways, we're going to skip some of the gameplay where I redo the Bengal fights. I actually ace them. I don't take any damage. I open up the chest, so I have, like, 3 Devil's Way mushrooms. I didn't use an herb to heal, so I'm up to 3 herbs after buying one at the shop. So I have full items going into this fight, and after, like, half an hour of playing through this final encounter, I finally beat it on this attempt. That's going to be the thing I feel like will be most people's experience playing Ayane currently, is just, it's a slog. You have to kind of grit your teeth and get through it and just keep at it. Perseverance is the key to victory, as it were. I do get lucky with a nice bit of beheading action. Right, I'm like, okay, like, the cards are going my way, right? Like, I'm taking enemies down very quickly. I one-shot that guy with a flying swallow, so Ayane, it's just kind of working for her. I'll take the Nympho as well. I might drop a few right here. At this point, like, of the mission, right, don't be afraid to bust out with your Nympho, right? The Flying Swallows, as you can see, like, after so many fights of them not really doing much, they're just popping off right now. I killed that guy with a Flying Swallow. I don't know what it is I finally don't get one. I'm able to charge level 1 just to make sure I'm safe. Hound this guy down. Jump around trying to make some space. You could throw out your shuriken with Ayane. It's a little bit of crowd control. They're not really impressive incendiary shuriken. They're good for stun locking the opponent twice. Sometimes they can mess up your combos, though. So just be mindful of if you have an enemy tag, maybe don't try to bully up on them more. And hell, even sometimes I've noticed, too, I almost feel like a uncharged ultimate technique attack, so you hold the heavy button for a bit, then release it so she does a single slash. That actually has a pretty decent beheading rate as well. It seems like. So it's kind of sad. I'm like, man, it almost feels better to not charge my ultimate technique than to actually charge it, which, that's a problem. I feel like that's a problem. So I'm very curious to see what Team Ninja cooks up with in their patch for the game. I don't know if it's going to be a full-on rework of like the game difficulty with adjusting enemy health and values and upping the enemy counts to make it more like Ninja Gaiden 2. If they're going to add a mode that does that for us, if we're going to have to wait for modders to give us that, or, you know, what they have in store for us. But hopefully just making the girls stronger overall is a thing that they do. I feel like that would make myself and probably a lot of fans of these characters a lot happier. As it were, just because there's so much these characters have going for them that just don't really live up to any of those expectations. So we're finishing up the fight. That's pretty much all there is to it. Persevere, get through it, drop your Nimpo, kill these guys, be as safe as you can, and take on the greater Fiend Witch boss fight here. She's really not too hard. She does have some janky-looking animations and move speed. But, you know, you'll see me just heal. So if you do get grabbed, you can pop an item and heal in between those. So just be mindful of that. Focus, like, you know, her ball attack, dodge her attacks. You know, when you stagger her, you got some free time. I don't really have a combo off the top of my head that is like, oh, this is like your optimal punish combo with Ayane. I'm kind of just flailing with the character, especially because this witch just do be blocking. But this is actually my first and only attempt on the boss fight. Like, really, it's kind of sad that, like, without having to rely on, you know, managing hordes of enemies that you can inconsistently delim with ultimate techniques that just don't pack enough of a punch, that this is all it takes to take this witch down. It's just, you know, a single effort, healing yourself up. I don't think Nimpo really does much against her. I could be wrong, though. Alright, like, I'm just persevering through it. I really don't want to, you know, spend more time than I have to on this level, and that's pretty much it for the Ayane chapter. If anyone has any particular useful tips or tricks, please comment down below when it comes to using Ayane. There might be some tech or combos I am missing with the character that really open up her power, but I'm hoping that overall she's a lot more accessible and fun to play in the Balance patch. Thanks for watching this episode of the Master Ninja Mode walkthrough guide. And I will see you all in the next chapter, Chapter 12, back on Ryu.